Hi, this is Misha, and I guess this is Alien Week here. It wasn't intended, but kind of how it has panned out to be. Got another Eaglemoss model ship here. This is the Narcissus Shuttle from 1979's Alien, Ridley Scott's film. This was the survey shuttle, our potential kind of ad hoc impromptu lifeboat for the USCSS Nostromo. This is a Starcub shuttle, which is a light intrasystem shuttle. Standard crew would be 3, including a pilot, co-pilot, and science officer or systems engineer. However, as with the Narcissus here, they could be fitted with hypersleep chambers, which this one had 2 to 3 of, depending on the source you ask. It had rocket motors for Sublight Flight, and it had a micro tachyon shunt for Superluminal Lightspeed flight. It had a range of about 13 parsecs, which translates to about 42.5 light years. So pretty respectable for a tiny little shuttle. Speaking of size, we're a little over 16 meters front to back, above about 16.25, and we're just under 20 meters, about 19.8, 19.7 side to side. So we're a little bit wider when you count the wings than we are long. The internal volume, according to Wiki, is 108 cubic meters. And there you have it. This is powered by a micro fusion generator. And it's pretty much just a small little equivalent of a, Cessna or Learjet in today. Like I said, this was a support craft on board the Nostromo. They could be used as a lifeboat in an emergency. But even as a kid, I wondered something. Okay. This has a crew of 3, maybe 4, but you're limited by the number of hypersleep chambers. The Nostromo had a crew of 7 to 8 as standard. So, what did they do? Draw straws? I thought if I was being generous, assuming the ship isn't completely disabled, you could send a couple of people on this to get help, having the rest of the crew stay in hypersleep on the Nostromo. But if the Nostromo is destroyed or seriously disabled, loses power, i.e. hypersleep is not available, what do you do on this? I mean, you're not going to cram 7 or 8 people in here for a long-term duration. I mean, you could potentially take turns in the couple of hypersleep chambers for a bit, but that wouldn't last or work very long. Just an observation that I've always wondered. There's little things like that about every movie that I just kind of wonder about. This is the ship that Ellen Ripley took off from the Nostromo on when the ship was self-destructed. The alien crept on board too, but it was jettisoned out the back and then burned up by the rocket motors. So Ripley and the cat Jonesy went into hypersleep, and even though they were only supposed to be in hypersleep for maybe a year or 2 at most, they ended up there for 57 years. They were finally rescued by the Tripass salvage vessel, who was just frankly going through space looking for salvage and found a little Starcub and thought, hey, salvage. The Nostromo itself was considered lost, kind of one of those mysteries, perhaps the space version of Bermuda Triangle. So when they found it, it must have been a big deal to finally have some closure. Like the Nostromo itself, this was built by Lockmart and owned by the Weyland-Yutani Corporation. As far as the model itself, from Eaglemoss, I really like the stand. It holds it very securely, but also is easy to take off, as you just saw. Since the model is relatively simple, it's nice and heavy and chunky. It's got a lot of metal in it. Top is metal. I think the bottom is mostly polymer. Got some metal too. It's got some good weight to it. Nice detail. Again, according to the internets, the original Narcissus model from 1979 Alien was lost after filming, so when James Cameron did Aliens in 1986, at least that's when it was released, they had to recreate the model for the opening scenes where they found Ripley in cryo storage. I don't know why, but I always found that a very memorable scene, them getting in there and the ship being dead essentially, and I would imagine cold, and pretty much what power this little shuttle had been going to keeping the cryo sleep chamber alive and still powered on, so nothing else had power on board the ship. You have to wonder how much longer it would have lasted if the salvage team had not discovered it. There's some side canon and whatnot about the android Ash taking this over, yada yada. I don't know. I don't really get into that. I just know the movies. Sorry, folks. You have to admit, a lot of the supplementary media for the Aliens and the Predators universe is pretty mediocre at best. So yeah, I just wanted to show you the Narcissus since it just came out in the US. I know it's been out in the UK for a little time now, but it's a cool model and it goes well. It's pretty much all the main ships from the Alien movies we've got now, so good on them, I suppose. Anyway, if you haven't, you might check out some of my other kind of impromptu, relaxed reviews. This is Misha, and I will catch you next time.